Joyce Davis.
Joyce, how old are you, if you don't mind us asking?
Messed this up on my birthday. I am 71, but I thought I was 72.
Okay. Well,
So,
well, you don't look it. How's that?
oh,
Okay. So you were a student at Lincoln School,
right.
and what do you remember about Lincoln School?
I went there from first, second, and third grades, and I remember having 2 classes in the same classroom, first and second grade, and then the third and fourth grade. So I only got to the third grade. So Mrs. Payne was my teacher in the third grade, and Mrs. Scott was a teacher in the first and second grade. And I remember that whenever you came to school, you had to line up in a line outside and by your classes, and then you walk inside to your classrooms. After I told you all this before, I said, oh, I don't know if that was a recess time or first go to school. But I do remember lining up by your classes and going inside.
And you walked to school?
Yes, walk to school. I didn't live very far. I only lived about a half a block from Lincoln School.
Okay.
So I didn't have that far to walk.
And you attended in the late 40s, early 50s, I take it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you walked to school with your friends, the bell would ring, you'd walk
Yes.
into, you'd line up, walk in, and you'd start off with the curriculum. What do you remember about your teachers?
Oh, not much other than they were teachers and they were strict. And I kind of remember they liked to get on the boys because they never would pay attention or get their homework or be attentive in classrooms. So we were able to escape with a lot of things as girls because the boys were acting up.
Now,
So,
you had any experiences with your teachers you want to share with us?
oh, no, not really.
They were good teachers?
Yes, they were good
They
teachers.
prepared you well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you remember walking to school, wearing a new dress, playing in the outside, or
Not really.
not
I
really?
don't-
What do you remember? That's what we're asking you.
What do I remember about the school itself?
Mhm.
Well, this is a memory I got a couple of days ago that used to have a nurse would come to the school to give us shots, and they would be upstairs in the cafeteria area. And she was my aunt. She would always faint whenever they smelled the alcohol. Sarah Louise, she would always faint down to the doornail so everybody else would know, well, oh yeah, that's what we're doing today, we're getting shots. So,
What kind of student were you at Lincoln School?
I guess I was just an average student. I don't remember what kind of grades I got. Too far back, but in high school and grade school, I was an average student.
Now, you were there to about the third grade, you say?
Yes.
Okay, so were you there with your brother or sister, or?
I had a sister who was a year behind me,
Okay.
and that's about it as far as relatives. I had 2 brothers, but they were much younger.
And afterwards, you left Lincoln School to go where?
We went to the Washington School in the 4th grade, and I remember from that we had to walk to school in the morning, we walked back home at lunchtime, walked back to school after lunch, and back home again in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And people always, kids nowadays can't even get down the street half a block and they're tired. But we had to do that many times back and forth to school. I remember that. No matter what the weather was, you had to walk back and forth to school.
How was the transition?
Transition, for me, wasn't too bad. I don't remember 4th grade being hard, but 5th grade was much harder for me. But 4th grade, the first year I went there, was fun.
Did Lincoln School prepare you adequately for the transition?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
You weren't behind, you weren't...
No, like I said, the 4th grade was all right. I just remember that the 5th grade was a little bit harder. Why, I don't know. And what caused me to think that it was harder, I don't know, but I just felt that the 5th grade was harder than the 4th grade for me.
What kind of reception did you get at Lincoln, from Lincoln School to Washington?
As far as teachers and students?
Teachers, students, general
Yeah.
community?
It was fine. We were all prepared to know that we were going to go to an integrated school, and that there could be some types of conflicts back and forth. But in the school itself, there wasn't any as far as I was concerned. I know when we were walking back and forth to school, there may be a few tussles here and there with the other kids, but more than that, no.
Did you face any situations where maybe a student was purposely, because of race, placed in second, not given the opportunity, let's say, to be first in the class, first in the team or something, first in the cheerleading squad because they were African American? Was that ever evidence?
I mean, I didn't take it as being a front if there was. When you're young like that, you don't really look at it that way, I don't think. I know my children, whenever they were going to school, I sent them to a Christian school because I thought, well, maybe they would have that type of competition. But when I was going to school, you didn't think about it like that. All you thought about is your own personal self, how you could get here and there. You didn't ask to be on something you knew you weren't going to be able to get on anyway. Like to be a cheerleader or to be this or that. You just didn't try to achieve those things.
Were opportunities open, let's say, on the sports teams and the band for African Americans?
Mm-hmm. They were. Girls didn't have that much of a chance to be on sports teams, but they could be in the band or the music choir or anything like that if they wanted to be.
Do you have fond memories of Lincoln School?
Well, I guess so. I wasn't there long enough to create any grand memories, but the things that I do remember were like, just little bits and pieces that you put together. Just like at our interview before, the things that I talked about, I wondered to myself, was that really so? Like the lining up for classes and that sort of thing. I do remember that it was a big deal whenever it was spring or fall time when we go out for recess and we get back in our lines to come in. All the guys would say, let's have another one. So everybody's standing out there cheering, let's have another one, let's have another. So I'd like to have another 15-minute recess before you come back in again. So.
Well, if you start at 8 o'clock in the morning, the whole day would be recess, right?
I know, but you didn't get to do that until it's recess time, and the first thing in the morning you had to go in and get your attendance and all that kind of thing. But during the day, they would try to get extended recesses.
Mm-hmm. And so you stayed in Gallipolis for the rest of your life then?
No.
Okay. What happened to you?
What happened to me? When I graduated from high school, I went to Ohio State for 2 years. And then because of the financial obligations with my parents and my sister and I both going to Ohio State, then I got a job instead. I do remember when I went to college, my mom took me and I was staying in one of the dorms at Ohio State. And when I came in, my roommate was there already, and it was a white girl and her mother. So by the time we carried my stuff back and forth from the car inside, we came back, I said to my mom, "She's crying." And my mother said, "Well, really?" I said, "Yeah, she's crying." Well, the other girl's mother was talking it all up, trying, to get us to get acquainted with each other and stuff like that. And after my mom left, we went to the place to buy our Ohio State football passes so that we could go to game. We got our seats next to each other and everything. So the mother was quite pleasant, but the girl was not so much. So it turns out that she didn't want to have a black roommate. And that evening, after the mother had gone home and reported this to the father calls and he has a royal fit and says that the girl has, you should get out of there. You should go and stay with your girlfriend. There was a girlfriend who came from her same school, but she hadn't gotten a place in a dorm. She was staying in a rooming house off campus. So the father told her to leave and go over there with the girlfriend. So I was without a roommate for at least a month and a half. The house mother would come and talk to me and say, "Oh, now, don't worry about it." And I'm thinking, "Oh, I don't care. I got the whole room by myself." That's all right with me. But I finally did get a roommate, and she was from New York City, and she was a black girl, and she had a full ride scholarship to come to Ohio State. And I learned quite a bit from her. So, her being from New York City, the thing I remember most about is if you would happen to say anything, "Oh, it's a nice day today," she said, "Who asked you?" And that kind of thing. So you grew up really quick. I mean, you coming from Gallipolis, and everyone is cordial and nice, and you know how to communicate back and forth. But then when you get in with someone who is a little more streetwise, you learn quickly.
But you eventually made it back home.
No, eventually. After that, after I got my job, then I was working as a teletype operator, and I got that job through CORE, the organization that was along with NAACP. They would send people out to test places that were advertising for jobs, trying to get this affirmative action in place and all. They would send black people somewhere to test. And they had sent me out to a swimming pool one time. I went there and I asked to join. It was a membership swimming pool. I asked to join it, and they told me no, there were no openings, that I couldn't have joined. So then half hour after I'm gone, they sent a white person in. They would get the application and be offered the membership. So then they have a case against this swimming pool area for discriminating. And I remember that they took it to court, and no one knew who I was, what my name was, or anything. They just knew of the case. And they were taking it to court, and several motorcycle people were going to come to town and tear up the place because of this class action suit that they were bringing about with the swimming pool area. I was scared to death, thinking that somehow my name's going to get out there, that I had done this. I had done several control things for the CORE people, but this one was the one that scared me the most. And I got the job that I worked out of school through them as a teletype operator. So I was for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and when I went there to apply for the job they sent me to apply for, they said, "Well, you're too educated to get this job. You got too much education." It was a file clerk job. So I say, well, okay. And about, I don't know what correspondence or what happened between that time, and 2 weeks later they call me and says he has another job that he thinks that I would be able to fill perfectly. Would I come back in to have an interview with him for that? So that's how I got the job as the teletype operator. And from that, I got a job with the federal government, with the State Department, as a communications operator. and I worked for the U.S. embassies for 10 years overseas. And then I came back home. After those 10 years, I came back home.
Well, sounds like you had an eventful life. You never did get in that pool, though, did you?
No, not that pool. When I came back home, that was the first thing I wanted to do, is to have a pool. So the house that I bought, I put in a pool. I could go swimming whenever I want.
You taking memberships or not?
No.
Okay. Well, we thank you very much for the interview.
Oh,